everyone, it's Froggy, and I'm back again with some more Willow Wonderful World. So this is our first time, I think, having 3. So we're going to go ahead and do Pie first. My name is Pie. It's not my real name. But everyone kept calling me that, so I decided to take it. Sometimes I wondered if God and fortune had abandoned me. But I knew that there were many, many people in this world who might be as unfortunate as me, or even more so. I was determined to look for them, approach them, and seek out the culprit who had turned their lives into living nightmares. I would never be a god, but I was a deliverer of God's punishment. Oh, no, he's got that psycho-religious babble! Bruh! Evil deserves to be punished, and the unfortunate deserved to be salvaged. And Jinx deserves to not have a cone around his neck, but here we are. You done? Okay. As for the sin of revenge, let me be the sole bearer of its wrath. However, I had begun to gradually realize that the evil in these humans was almost like bacteria, or a virus. They could be everywhere. They could dwell in a dark, humid, disgusting back alley, or a loud and ecstatic pub, or a joyful and innocent elementary school. I could still remember the lust in that PE teacher's eyes when he had mentioned his students. It was sickening. It was stomach-churning. Even though I kept eliminating them one after another, I always ended up running into the next foul bastard hiding in another evasive corner of the city. Finally, I came to one conclusion after my activities had been published in the papers. Instead of tracking them down one by one, a more effective way was to deter them with fear. The last target I had on the outside had been an unemployed young man who I had accidentally run into on the street. I picked up the newspaper that he had dropped, and there was a story about someone molesting a young child on it. That someone was him. It grabbed my attention, so I followed him for a while. As it turned out, he was clearly not a pedophile. What, you knew? You knew! You knew Jimmy was not a pedophile. The article was just gossip that had been planted by someone who wanted to slander him. Still, I figured if I left my smiley face signature next to this pedophilic young man, as the press called him, it would become another viral story in the media for sure. And then the real perverts would certainly think twice before committing any atrocities. Maybe they would even be scared shitless and wouldn't even dare to go outside. My logic was impeccable. But my luck wasn't. And things didn't turn out the way I had planned. Life in prison wasn't so bad. There were plenty of evil men who had received a much less serious sentence than what they deserved. Occasionally, I would send a couple of them to hell in the name of justice. However, for every day that I had to stay in prison, more evil went unchecked in the outside world. The thought made me feel anxious every single day when I was in there. Therefore, the moment that I heard Carlos mention prison break, I immediately joined his plan without any hesitation. Today was the day of our escape. I was guessing that we might have run into some trouble. I said guessing because I couldn't see what was going on in the yard from where I was standing. Carlos was supposed to follow Hotaru out through the window, and I would follow them. However, Carlos was still lying on the ledge beneath the window. Since there was only enough space for one person, I had to hide myself behind the door. So far, only Hotaru was up in the yard. I had never fully trusted that shorty. If he dared to betray us, I would not let him get away with this. Right, at that instant, I heard the footsteps of the prison guards on night duty. The twins had come back from their patrol. The door squeaked as it was pushed open. I held him tightly. There was a syringe in his hand. I choked the neck of the guard in front. But I didn't want to kill either of them. There was no reason to punish them. Besides, as long as I could get out of here, there would be nothing they could do about me. I was too careless. This man was much stronger than I thought. When my chokehold just barely loosened up for an instant, he reached his arm backwards and stabbed me in the neck with the syringe in his hand. It somehow felt familiar to me. Only this time it wasn't poison in the syringe, but a strong hallucinogen. Everything before my eyes suddenly began to look bent and twisted. All the shapes were tangled together, and then untangled, and restructured again, and they morphed into emptiness. There was only me left, standing in the center of a dark vacuum. A man emerged from the dark. He walked towards me and stopped in front of me, looking down at me coldly. He had oily, dark hair and a round belly, and he was carrying an empty beer bottle. He could barely stand. "Where is your mother? Did she go to Alex's again?" Thank you! Finally! Now we're getting somewhere. We know. We know. Full-on confirmation, as if, like, the little beauty mark wasn't enough, but, full-on confirmation now. I felt something familiar yet strange growing in my heart. But who was this person? Oh. My splitting headache started up again as if someone was squeezing my brain. Okay, so he repressed these memories, I guess. I kept enduring the pain in my head and pulled out an imaginary gun. I pointed it at the oily-haired man and pulled the trigger. I heard a gunshot, but then I found myself holding a cookie knife instead. A bloody knife. The man standing opposite me was split into two people. A man and a woman, both with blonde hair and blue eyes, were holding each other intimately. The man seemed a little nervous, while the woman had a smirk on her face. They were looking directly at me. She was also holding a gun in her right hand. It was the same one that had just been in my hand. A wisp of gray smoke was rising from the tip of the barrel. Bastard. 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 No! No! I was not a bad child. My brain felt like it was being tumbled with 1,000 knives. Everything started morphing once again. The pain had spread across my entire body, and I felt like I was drowning in it. I couldn't distinguish the boundary between reality and hallucination anymore. Who on earth were they? Help. Help me. Help. Pie. Oh boy. Okay, good. My name is Carlos. I had planned a prison break not too long ago. Besides me, Pai and Hotaru were also involved in the plan. They were both inmates in Hong Kong's Central Prison just like me. On that night, we overcame lots of obstacles and broke into the monitor room of the basement floor. We were so close to freedom. The room had a skylight window with 2 layers. The inside layer was a sliding glass window to keep the dirt out, and on top of that was a window grate to protect the glass. Underneath the window there was a small ledge that was barely large enough for one person to lie upon. When the weather was nice, the guards would open the glass window for ventilation. That must be why the ledge was covered with dirt. Hotaru slid the glass window open, pushed the grate, and climbed out. I was about to follow him. But he turned around, dropped the grate, and stepped on it. What was going on? I was suddenly reminded of what Pai had told me in private. That little shorty is a sneaky bastard. I don't like him at all. When I first heard him say that, all I could think about was, yeah, you're one to talk. I figured he'd only disliked Hotaru for the same reason that he disliked people like Kai. But now I realized he might have had a point. Hotaru, should we trust him? I would not be surprised if he betrayed us right in this moment. I laid down on the ledge. Through the glass I could see another dark figure joining Hotaru, but I couldn't tell who that was. It probably was a prison guard. No other people would be in the yard at this hour of the day. Hotaru was talking to that person. Even though there was only a grate between us, they were speaking so quietly that I still couldn't hear what they were saying. Shouldn't the guards be suspicious about Hotaru being there? Or maybe Hotaru was close enough to him that he would just let it go? Or maybe Hotaru had planned this all along. The dark figure moved a little. He unzipped his pants and let out a deep breath. Damn it! A stream of foul-smelling yellow water suddenly rained upon my head through the grate. And it kept going. What the hell was that? Why would anyone pee in public like this? I finally couldn't tolerate the smell anymore and let out a cough. The guard noticed me. 2 minutes later, surrounded by a dozen prison guards, I was pulled up to the ground through the window. I finally saw the face of the other man. It was Morgan. After our escape failed, we were all sent to solitary cells. I only learned later that Morgan was a drug addict. It was pure coincidence for us to run into him on that fateful night. Morgan had been out walking that night, high as a kite. He didn't even realize that Hotaru was trying to escape when he saw him. It was me who ruined the whole thing. If I could have kept quiet, he might still have been able to make it. Lord, would I have to spend the rest of my life in prison? Carlos. Alright, next letter. This would be Hotaru, I assume. Oh, you're in like a yukata. Neat. My name is written as Tachibana Hotaru on my passport. But most people only knew me as Hotaru. Why does that name sound so familiar? Oh, wait. Weren't you... Alicia either met you or had something to do with you. I can't remember now. It's been a while. But okay. It was also my moniker. It had been written in hiragana and hung over the door of my room in Okiya. The geisha Okiya, located in Shinjuku 4 Chrome in Tokyo, was where I grew up. On a moonless night, I, still a newborn baby, had been left at the back door of the Okiya. I was wrapped in a piece of plain white cloth, and there was a glass jar with fireflies in it next to me. The faint blinking lights of the fireflies, Hotaru, had grabbed the attention of a sister that was coming back late. That was how I got my name. Since then, the sisters in Okiya had become my family, and that day, July 9th, became my birthday. I had shown a talent for dancing and performing since I was very young. The mama of the Okiya wanted to send me away to a kabuki school, but I didn't want to leave the Okiya. After some arguments and compromises, I became a male geisha. It was not something particularly uncommon in the past, but in contemporary Japan it was almost unheard of. Still, rules were made by people. For a long time, a paper fan, a kimono, a shamisen, and my family were the entirety of my world. Until I met the savior of my life. It was a stormy evening. Kazumi Kai was holding a banquet at our place, welcoming some guests who had come all the way from China. Menacing bodyguards in black suits were everywhere, from the gate to the backyard. A lot of them had a suspicious bulge in their waists. I was told those were concealed guns. Kazumi Kai was both a stakeholder in and the protector of our Okiya. It was also the most powerful gang in the Shinjuku area. The Okiya had prepared many performances for this night. No mistakes would be allowed. The opening act was Plum Blossom Creek, a dance that I had performed numerous times before. However, on that night, I had caught a little cold. I wasn't feeling too well. With the atmosphere feeling so tense in the room, I was so nervous that I accidentally flung the fan out of my hand in the middle of the dance. The fan hit the head of a guest, and it fell into a boiling beef pot in front of him. The entire room became deadly silent, but a young Chinese boy sitting at the corner of the table burst out laughing. Kazumi Kai's men were outraged. I immediately dropped to my knees and begged for forgiveness. I was trembling from head to toe, too scared to even look up. One of them had already released the safety on his gun when the laughing young man said something. I couldn't understand what he had said, but it must have been something nice. He became the savior of my life. Our story had been a fairy tale beginning, but we didn't get to have the best ending. 2 years ago, he died. I only heard about it later by accident from some other customers. They also said that it had been a suicide. It couldn't be possible. I began to regret a lot of things. It was always him who would come to Japan and visit me, but I had never gone to Hong Kong to visit him. I could only meet 2 or 3 times a year, and only for a few days each time. He would never tell me in advance, so every time was always a surprise. Sometimes I would fantasize about it when he was not with me. Sometimes I would think to myself, maybe he was in Japan, and maybe he would suddenly appear in front of me. Yeah, this is definitely the guy that Alicia was with. The last time that he came to see me, I was on a trip to Totori with the sisters, so we missed each other. But I never would have thought that it would be my last chance to ever see him. He killed himself while I was away. I couldn't let him die like this. Against the objections from the sisters, I packed up all of my belongings and savings and came to Hong Kong. I finally managed to find his housekeeper, who had always looked after him. The housekeeper accompanied him to Japan a couple of times. We had met a few times, and I knew that I could trust him. He told me that he had never believed that his young master would have committed suicide. He knew somebody who wanted the young master dead, but he didn't have enough proof. The Lin family was a huge clan that had grown to have many factions and infighting. If you wanted someone gone, you either made sure that you had sufficient evidence against him, or you killed them. Was that somebody responsible? To find out the truth, I needed more information and more money. After spending some time on the street looking for clues, I had an idea. I bribed a few cops to arrest me for something made up, just so that I could be sent to Hong Kong Central Prison. In here, not only would they take care of my room and board, I could also make money and collect more information with my special gift. Everyone in the prison had their own value to me. Some of them were worth the few $100 that I could win off of them in a bet. Others might have power and connections that could help me get closer to the truth. The drunk and barely coherent prison guard who was standing in front of me right this moment fell into the latter group. His name was Morgan. Oh, were we not just together? Did you already miss me, sweet baby? He was supposed to be doing the roll call tonight, so I had gotten him drunk earlier, hoping that he would be sleeping it off. Who knew that he would be out wandering doing drugs again? His deeply sedated brain was probably making him unable to think anymore. Nevertheless, him being here was still a problem for us. I had to be calm. I pulled my cap lower. Care for a drink? Hold on a second. Morgan unzipped his pants and started doing his thing without even turning away. Oh no, that was... Oh God. I heard someone cough under the window. Carlos, you idiot. We're so screwed. I should have not agreed to help that idiot escape. I had been in cell 28 for a long time. At first, it was just me. Soon I found the hole under the bottom bunk bed, which was big enough for one person to escape. Perhaps somebody else had tried to escape from here, but for some reason he had to abort, therefore leaving the hole behind like this, without being discovered by the guards. I thought it was a blessing from the gods, gifting me with an exit strategy like this. Once I had enough money, I could just disappear without a trace. I had never revealed the secret to anyone. Never would I have imagined that my plan would be ruined by someone like Carlos. I didn't know that he would want to switch me out of this cell after winning the card game. I had no choice but to tell him the truth. One thing led to another, and it ended up being a prison break involving 3 people. Damn it. I should not have told him. I should have just made up some other excuse. Hotaru. So I'm going to go ahead and end it here for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you want to see more videos from me, then don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.